my good friends over at Xfinity, they had a bit of a data breach.
Sure, so many other ways that people can get that information. I kind of assume all that information about me is out there now. Yeah, well, they're also used to working with people who aren't very tech savvy and don't know what they're doing. So,
right.
For them, they have to be a little more forgiving.
In that case, they should just, it's inconvenient, but they should make folks go, Twitch allowed artistic nudity, and then it didn't.
I thought there was something like it started because female Twitch streamer decided to stream topless or something.
So the story you're talking about, I saw some stuff about it on Twitter. And hey, how the tech are you? I am producer Dave. I am the co-producer of this show and the producer of all of our shows on Twitch and our other podcasts. Go to echopluxmedia.com. Check it out. My first story is my good friends over at Xfinity. They had a bit of a data breach. So what happened was there was a breach happened from October 16th to October 19th, 2023. It was people's names, contact info, and birth dates were exposed. Xfinity hasn't said how many may have been impacted by this. They say they did patch their system, and at this point, there's really no known data dump. Matt, you're not on Xfinity, are you? I am, but I don't care if people have my name, my date of birth, maybe my address, but maybe it's old data.
Yeah.
These companies just keep showing that they're really bad at this stuff at InfoSec. To be fair, though, this was an exploit that the cloud company Citrix found out about. So even had Xfinity had their systems patched and up to date at the time the exploit was, discovered and published, it still could, it could have been used, because that's, if it's an unpublished exploit, that means nobody's patched it. So this is, this is unfortunate, but just everybody be careful out there, and be careful out there with your personal information, unless you don't care about like your name, your data. The thing is, with your name and your date of birth and your address, there are things people could socially engineer their way into some of your stuff, I believe.
Well, I'm kind of at this point, like there's been so many data breaches and sure, so many other ways that people can get that information. I kind of assume all that information about me is out there now. Unfortunately, like I try to set up good security on everything, but as you said, people can use social engineering to get around a lot of that. Right. And there's not a lot you can do about it.
Yeah. One of the things I do is like, I never call. I'm hoping unless I absolutely have to call, I try to do things via methods where I have to be logged in to a website or whatever to communicate. Yeah. And I'm hoping that, some of these companies are like, well, this person's never called us. And that like maybe a bit of a red flag if somebody's like trying to get access to an account or whatever. The other thing I do is anything important I try to log into regularly, even if I'm not really using it. Again, just hoping that the company on the other end is like, well, what do you mean you're kicked out? You just logged in today,
Right.
But I don't know if the people doing customer service at any of these companies are taking that stuff into account. There are interesting ways in which some companies are verifying people outside of this, like name and birth date, like publicly available information. Like my bank, I don't like my new bank very much, but they did give me a printout when I went in to set up I had to set up new mobile banking, and they gave me a printout with 10 codes on it. They said, if you ever if we ever really need to do anything via the phone, you better have this printout with these codes, or we're not going to do nothing for you.
That's nice.
Yeah. Well, until some somebody's still going to manage to get around that at some point, just by crying or something on the thing. But it certainly is a layer of security. Hopefully we find ways around this where don't really need a password, but we're getting there. I just think that public utilities especially are in kind of a weird position, because Comcast isn't a public utility, but there's a way in which it kind of is. Yeah. And you need the internet. And so if you're having a problem and they verify you via, their usual methods or whatever, they might be inclined to try to verify you using less secure methods to try to fix your problem. And
well, they're also used to working with people who aren't very tech savvy and don't know what they're doing. So, for them, they have to be a little more forgiving. Can be problematic. Yeah.
In that case, they should just, it's inconvenient, but they should make folks go to like a Comcast place and show their ID and bring a bill or something.
Yeah, the good thing about Comcast is they have actual brick and mortar stores. Yeah, in a lot of places they're fairly easy to get to.
Here, it's not close, but it's easy to get to. Like
Yeah.
I'd have to take BART to get to the one, but it's like right next to BART in Union City. So if something happened and I really needed, I'd be there in half an hour, you know? Yeah. It's not great, but luckily like credit card numbers weren't exposed.
Yeah, that's good.
Or so they claim. I wonder how many times they don't include the fact that credit, you know, I wonder how many times these companies lie.
Yeah.
But I guess the data does eventually get dumped. So if they were lying, they'd get found out. But I think
probably.
like a lot of like best practices, I think the credit card information isn't stored like in the, for lack of a better way to talk about it, the same place as your name and your address and stuff.
Right.
I think it's stored differently. Anyway, that's that. What I got next is a story about Twitch. I got Twitch allowed artistic nudity and then it didn't. This is an interesting story. So this policy was only in effect for a couple of days. It allowed depictions of real or fictional nudity, but obviously I couldn't just take my clothes off on my stream or whatever, right? It was depictions of it, not, you can't just have naked people on your channel. They have other websites for that. The rollback was actually due to users' concerns, and Twitch was pretty quick to react to like Twitch users being like, "Hey, there's kids on here. Why are there anime titties?" Like, or something along those lines, because it was supposed to be for artists to allow, you know, pictures of nude statues, that kind of stuff. Twitch also cited AI, saying that sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between a real photo and AI generated images. So that, you know, a lot of sense, because you could deep fake somebody and be like pretending to show another streamer nude to kind of harass them under this policy if it was just art. So that's and not affected are streams of if you're playing a game or whatever and it's a mature rated game and there are depictions of nudity in the video game. That was always generally okay, so long as the game wasn't like, you know, if somebody made an indie game that was just pictures of porn, well, you couldn't play that on Twitch, but otherwise, like, that was always okay. What do you think about this, Matt?
Well, I saw a little bit about this. I didn't read the particular article you linked to, but I thought there was something like it started because, you know, female Twitch streamer decided to stream topless or something, and they blocked her, but then they were like, okay, well, maybe this is okay or something. I didn't catch that. It seemed like it really was opening it up to all nudity, but they didn't really understand what they were getting into.
So the story you're talking about, I saw some stuff about it on Twitter, and she may or may not have been topless. You could see her shoulders and like down to basically about a little bit lower than where my camera drops off here. One of the things I saw in the comments, because somebody was like, "Oh, this is disgusting," and one of the things I saw in the comments was a woman posted a picture of herself in a low-cut dress. She's like, I have evening wear that lets you see that much of my chest. She's like, this is formal wear. I would wear this to a wedding. She's like, this is not nudity. So I think that particular woman got reinstated because she wasn't violating the old policy. For all you knew, she was wearing a low-cut dress. I mean, in the thing in question, don't get me wrong, like the implication was that she wasn't wearing anything, right? That was heavily implied, but she wasn't technically breaking the rules. And for me, I kind of liked this policy because one of our shows, strangely enough, we watch like old satanic panic videos, and sometimes in those, I'm like, because of some of the things that are depicted in those, right? There's artistic depictions. You've probably seen this one of a woman with no shirt on with a Baphomet head. It's a very common depiction in old satanic panic stuff. But if I see that, I just cut away from it. And I haven't had any problems so far. And I was like, oh, this would help me a lot. But of course, people, as soon as this happened, started trying to push the limits of it and take advantage of it. It kind of sucks, right? Because what are they going to do now if there's if there's a statue? Because there's plenty of statues all around the world of nude people. Yeah. And that's technically a depiction of a nude body, but it's like some of these are famous pieces of art. And then how do they deal with this? In that case, I think, again, the old rules, it's probably still fine so long as your stream says that it's for mature audiences and says that there will be sexual themes. And I think that like famous pieces of art and depictions of nudity from like legitimate news, I think are probably, okay. I think that what happened here was that the policy was written in such a way that, people were doing just drawing streams of drawn naked people. And they're like, well,
Yeah.
that's not what we meant. And they had to roll the policy back. Twitch has had kind of a rough year in a lot of ways. And this is just another thing where I think they tried to like do something to allow people to be more creative in a way that they thought was going to be like more wholesome or more artistic or, more tasteful. People are shit. So people did what people do. And then they had to roll it back. It definitely sucks because, if somebody's got a stream where they, do sculpture, right? If they're sculpting a nude, now they can't put it on Twitch.
Yeah.
But there's nothing inherently sexual about a nude sculpture, right? It's not, it doesn't move. It's not a person.
Yeah.
You shouldn't go up and touch a nude sculpture, right? That's somebody else's art. And you're a little bit of a weirdo if you do that. If you go up and touch it anywhere, actually.
I would say some people, like some artists, do want you to touch their work, but not usually nudes though.
Right. And that's clear. That's, would be made clear in the art exhibit. This is a piece of art that we want you to interact with physically or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, this is just, I could imagine, somebody maybe new to Twitch, somebody maybe older who hadn't even thought about it. They end up getting kicked off because they're sculpting a nude woman. And they're like, what the hell is this?
Or drawing or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think,
like figure drawing is really common. And like, I would expect on Twitch, like there'd be a stream. What would be interesting would be a stream that just has the model, sitting there and you're supposed to draw along with the artist, right? Do figure drawing. But that I would assume would be against the rules now.
Well, and I think like an actual human, I don't think this would have, like if I had an actual nude human in this room that was on camera, I don't think this new policy would have made that okay, no matter what the context was.
Right.
So
but if you're copying the drawing of the artist, though,
right,
or watching them draw without seeing what their reference or something.
Right. And I think like stuff like the sculpture, your example of somebody doing a figure drawing of a nude person. I think that's the kind of stuff they were trying to allow. I assume that's the kind of, and that I think was a good policy because that's, Americans are a little weird about nudity, but like it's perfect. There is a ton of tasteful, beautiful art that shows breasts and genitals out there.
Yeah.
The most famous statue in the world shows full frontal male nudity, back male nudity.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
And but I wonder if a news story that shows that image is okay on Twitch, and they haven't been super clear about that. I imagine it is. It's such a famous piece of artwork that everyone has seen that it is like at this point the guy may as well not be nude. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's so well known. Everybody's seen it.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, do you think Twitch will move to like a ratings method where each stream would have a different, rating for and age limit for who's allowed to watch it? Or
there's already a version of that that's opt-in, like our stream, right?
Okay.
It first says this is for mature audiences. I don't know if it says like this is 18 and over or whatever, but it does say that it's like for mature audiences. And then there are even further things like we clicked drug and alcohol use because we talk about that, and because I drink on stream, and it's it's we talk about sometimes positive experiences we've had using drugs and alcohol, and so that certainly means we should check that one. It does talk about sexual themes. We click that one, and then like violence and extremism, we click that one. So it's all opt-in, and the good thing about that is if you opt into those things and you go a little bit past their limit, they're not going to come down on you real hard.
Right. They say roll it back, right?
Right.
They won't just kick you off.
They might knock you off for 24 hours, or you might even just get a no email from them about something.
Right. Yeah.
But if you don't do those things, then they're gonna come down pretty hard on you, because they're in a weird position because they're primarily a game streaming company, but there's a lot of other stuff on there that's really interesting and like really makes Twitch an interesting place to go watch things. And they even went to the trouble of making agreements with some of the major record labels regarding streamed music on content as long as it's not recorded. So they've like gone to great lengths to try to accommodate other kinds of things besides games, they're just in a weird spot because the people watching the games, a lot of those people are minors.
Yeah.
And then they have, it's not adult content, but they allow you to do content that is geared to adults, is for adults. And their restrictions in some ways are looser than YouTube, right? Some ways more restrictive. In my opinion, their restrictions around basically the payload of the content versus the tone. I think they've struck a pretty good balance. Like you can't just have, for example, an anti-vaccine channel on Twitch. They'll just kick you off. And that's payload, whereas, on YouTube, you can have an anti-vaccine channel just so long as as long as you word everything the right way or whatever.
Yeah.
But they're in a weird position because that definitely people see it as a place for kids to hang out, even though it certainly is not just that. And I think that they are, to the extent that any big tech company is, they're at least making efforts to make it clear what kind of content someone is about to see when they come to something for the first time. It does make it annoying. Like I'll say, like if you get rated into a new channel, then you get this warning again every time you get rated over, even if the warning is the same. I think it would be good if they would, if they could maybe verify that you're over 18 somehow, and then you can click, okay, well, I blanket agree to see this, this, and this, but not this, or whatever it may be. But here, I think they tried to do a good thing, and it's just people are just people, and so people tried to push the limits too far, and that really sucks. Because, like you said, if somebody wants to do nude figures and wants to teach people how to draw nude figures, Twitch is the perfect place for that. Absolutely the perfect place because it's community oriented. Like it's better. YouTube would be fine, but Twitch would be better for that. There's a lot of artists and musicians and stuff on Twitch, and it just kind of sucks. I wish they would have found a way to do this. I think that they ran into the problem of, well, now we have to go in and have individuals police all of this all of the time. And it's just unreasonable, just absolutely unreasonable. Good on Twitch for trying, I suppose. A lot of people are like, oh, they fucked up. I'm like, no, I think they tried to do a good thing and it just didn't work. But I also feel sorry for that lady that everybody was slut shaming because she didn't do anything. Actually, she was fine.
Yeah.
But for all I know, she was wearing a low-cut dress.
Thank you, everyone, for checking out the How the Tech Are You weekly tech news show. If you want to check out our other shows, you can do that on echoplexmedia.com. And if you want to support us, you can do that on eplex.store or patreon.com/echoplex. Don't remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below telling us what you like, what you didn't like. We want to hear what you think. Have a great tech and week.